What's the most unfair thing that happened to you as a child? When I was 4, I was enrolled into a daycare where I was the only non-white child. The daycare half a mile away had all my friends and I really wanted to go to it, but for some reason my mom insisted I go to this one. At first things were okay. I got called some bad names and other kids wouldn't play with me, but then about 1 month and my teacher, Mrs. Grench, brought me into the bathroom. She got me down on my knees and took out a yellow bottle and sponge. She then unscrewed it and poured it all over the toilet bowl, telling me this was my punishment for being a dirty child. The smell was intoxicating, and I asked her what this bleach stuff was, but she just covered her own nose and ordered me to scrub. I remember the second my hand made contact with the liquid, I let out a scream. It burned my skin and it started sizzling, but Mrs. Grench just grabbed my hand and pressed it into the toilet bowl, forcing me to scrub harder. I started bawling from the pain, but that didn't matter to Mrs. Grench. She kept me in the bathroom until the entire toilet had been scrubbed clean with my bare hands. I came out with literal steam coming off my hands, and when I sat down, Mrs. Grench made a joke to the whole class about how my fingers now looked like theirs did. What's even worse was that when I went home and told my mom, she seemed completely unbothered. She flat out said I was lying about what happened and excused my discolored fingers as me not being careful with crayons. Ma'am, my skin was literally peeling. Either way, scrubbing the toilets became my daily routine. Every day after snack time, Mrs. Grench would take me to the bathroom while the other kids got to play. Even worse, she didn't just stick to bleach. She started bringing in stronger chemicals that made my eyes water just from opening them. My hands went from the skin peeling off to literally the red meat being visible. It got to a point even my mom could no longer deny it. She still didn't do anything though, just put some lotion on and said I must have sensitive skin. Things got much worse after Thanksgiving. Mrs. Grench's husband had missed it for work, and she started taking her frustration out on me. Soon I was scrubbing toilets during lunch too, but now the door was open while I did. Mrs. Grench started inviting my classmates to come and laugh at me while I scrubbed. Some of them tried, but the smell made them too dizzy to stick around. One girl named Emma actually offered to help me once, but Mrs. Grench stopped her and told her this was strictly my people's work. It was actually Emma's parents who became my first hope. They came in to pick her up early one Tuesday while the bathroom door was open. I was scrubbing with something new that made me throw up. Mrs. Grench was standing over me while I was getting sick saying dirty children do dirty work. Emma's mom saw it all. She gasped so loud Mrs. Grench spun around. I was too sick to see it, but apparently Emma's mom took her phone out and captured everything. She called my mom right there, who showed up 20 minutes later, but for some reason, she looked more annoyed than angry. Emma's mom showed her the pictures and demanded we go to the police, but my mom just kept saying, I'm sure it's a misunderstanding, and my daughter does have sensitive skin. Emma's mom stared at her like she had 3 heads. Well, a few days later, some man in a suit came to inspect the daycare. Mrs. Grench wore her nicest dress and gave him cookies. I was seated in the best chair and as per Ms. Grench's instructions had my hands in my pockets. The man barely looked at the bathroom before jotting something down and leaving. I found out later he was Mrs. Grench's husband. He ran something important in the town. After that, Mrs. Grench only got meaner. She made me use stuff that had skulls on the bottles. She'd say things like, some children are born to serve others, while I cleaned. My hands stopped healing between sessions. They just stayed raw all the time. I remember genuinely losing faith until one Christmas dinner when my teenage cousin Aisha saw my hands and almost cried. She was 16, my family's black sheep rebellious teenager if you will, and she went to my mom immediately. Mom of course dismissed it, but Aisha refused to let it go. She started picking me up from the daycare herself sometimes, even paid my mom to let her babysit me. And it's during one of these babysitting sessions she sewed something into my favorite teddy bear. She didn't tell me what it was, just hugged me and made me promise I would keep it with me at daycare at all times and hide it from mom. I trusted her completely. And 2 weeks later, Aisha came over to our house with her laptop looking serious. Turns out she'd planted an audio recorder into the teddy bear. She had files from it on her laptop, and she played these recordings of Mrs. Grench saying horrible things to me. But instead of doing anything, my mom grabbed the laptop and screamed at Aisha, "You don't understand, I'll handle this myself." She then forcefully booted Aisha out. Within an hour, my mom was driving me to the daycare. She said she forgot something and needed to get it, but her hands were shaking the whole way there. She brought me in and told me to wait in the playroom while she got what she needed, but it was so dark I got scared. I followed her down the hall and pushed open Mrs. Grench's office door. There, I saw my mom pressed against the same man who did the inspection. She was crying into his shoulder. "Just a little longer. Patricia can never know about us," he said to mom. Full story on channel linked below.